Thank you so much for inviting me to come speak. My name is Diego Angarita. I'm the Vice Chair of Co-op Power. Co-op Power is located in Hatfield, Massachusetts, but it represents various different regions within Massachusetts and the surrounding communities. I myself live in Holyoke, Massachusetts. So Co-op Power is an inclusive, multi-class, multi-race cooperative. It's a consumer-based cooperative. It was developed in the early 2000s when the municipally run utility companies were going to be deregulated. And residents throughout Massachusetts were starting to organize and think about an alternative way to be able to retain local control over energy. And Co-op Power really based its model on the energy cooperatives that are located in the Midwest area of the country. The difference is that it really has a social justice lens to it, and it's kind of created this ongoing dialogue and tension within the cooperative to hit all these different points, triple bottom line, some people call it. One of the reasons why the cooperative model was so prevalent in the Midwest is that as the coastlines, the East Coast and the West Coast, became electrified, it was the Midwest that was kind of left out, and so a lot of folks they developed traditional energy cooperatives in order to electrify the middle area of the country. Co-op Power is really focused on renewable energy and not so focused on traditional forms of energy. So this is kind of a timeline of Co-op Power. So it started beginning its community planning and business development in 2002 and eventually incorporated in 2004. And one of the biggest projects that I was launching this biodiesel company. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But a little bit of the story of the biodiesel company is that it was supposed to be launched in 2005. And you can see there, Co-op Power turned down a venture capital offer to build the company. Because there was a real focus on who owns it matters. And being able to ensure that, when the cooperative members invest their money into a business like that, they're investing their money for the long term with long-term outcomes and not necessarily just trying to make a profit. So here's part 2 of the timeline. 2010, Co-op Power purchased a structure for community renewable energy products. At this point, in 2010, that's really when energy efficiency became targeted as the main product that we could use to develop, to generate revenue for the cooperative. There was one member in particular who had a lot of experience in energy efficiency that brought this service to us, and we really focused it on performing energy efficiency for our cooperative members. And they were located throughout the region, Hampshire County, Franklin County. I'll show you a map in a second so you can see. And then eventually there was a launch of the solar photovoltaic panels on top of the Brattleboro Food Co-op, and the launch of Energia, which I'll tell you a little bit more later, and then another energy efficiency crew in Boston. And hopefully in the next year, 2013, 2014, we're going to finally be able to launch Northeast Biodiesel and scale up our community solar. So this is when we talk about where are the members located. We organize the cooperative into what we call local organizing councils. And the idea is that while the cooperative is one entity, it allows us to have more local conversations on a regular basis. So we organize into different regions. There's southern Vermont, Franklin County, Hampshire County, Hampden County, Metro Boston East, and this kind of Worcester, Providence area, the Blackstone Valley as it's called. And what's really interesting about this model is that all these different communities they look very different. The local organizing councils demographically look very different. They have very different challenges. When we look at the mission of being a multi-class, multi-race cooperative, we're always, debating, is this is that a definition for the entire cooperative? Is that a definition that has to apply within every single LOC? It's always a constant conversation. And right now we have an energy efficiency crew in Hampshire County and Franklin County and then Boston. We're probably going to launch another one here in Worcester. And there's a certain radius for when our crews do work. They don't usually go outside of Western Mass or Boston, and so Worcester usually doesn't have any service right now from our energy efficiency crews until they launch a crew. And Southern Vermont had the photovoltaic panels installed on the top of the food co-op, and Hampden County is where we launched Energia. And so for Co-op Power, when we do energy efficiency, we focus mostly on residential homes. We go into the homes of our cooperative members and other leads that we get, and the crews go in and do insulation and energy audits. It's really based off of this program that we have in Massachusetts called Mass Save. And Mass Save is supported by the government, and it's a way for folks to be able to get subsidized energy audits and be able to do energy efficiency work on their homes. And that's a really good way for us to get in the door with a lot of homeowners. Sometimes when a homeowner was to go to a bank and ask for funding or to get a loan to be able to do this kind of work, whether it's solar hot water installation or it's insulation, a lot of times they'll get turned down because it's a pretty non-traditional. If it's green, it's like they're not as likely to fund it, to give a loan. But a really key area that folks who are in this industry have found is that when you're buying a house, when you're already taking out a larger loan to buy a house, that's a good time to be able to incorporate, go to a bank and say, I want to make some improvements, general improvements, get a new hot water heater, make some improvements to the house. That's a really good time to add in those extra costs to be able to invest in your home at that point. And Mass Save is kind of like an opportunity for folks to be able to not have to wait when they're in that moment to be able to start doing some of that work. That being said, that's created challenges with Rhode Island or Vermont when they've been asking, going back to the whole cooperative and saying, well, how are we going to be able to get energy efficiency services if we don't have Mass Save? So that's an ongoing conversation. So this is kind of a breakdown of the flow of Co-op Power. And it kind of, we can start off as being a Co-op Power member. A Co-op Power member puts in equity and can give loans to the different products and businesses and receive products and services for their membership. And that goes into the Co-op Power Council, which then develops new products and services, green jobs, education, and community control. And then the whole cooperative provides investments, loans, and business development to create green businesses and good green jobs, which produce energy products and services, interest, and dividends. And so it's a really unique model in the sense that we're focusing on alternative energy instead of traditional forms of energy. So these are kind of some of the great things we've done so far. We've launched 10 community-owned green businesses and 150 good green jobs. Northeast Biodiesel, we are starting to generate a little bit of revenue. Energia is launched. We have 5 solar installation businesses. We've helped to launch Westfield Energy Efficiency Trade Center, 2 green electricians, and then the Co-op Power programs are their solar vendor network, residential energy efficiency services. Neighbor to Neighbor is a program that we do where we try to cut down the cost of being able to install solar hot water. So we get a discount on the actual machinery for the device, and then within our own membership we organize, and kind of like a barn raising used to be, we get together everybody and we just install it on someone's house, and someone who knows how to do it is there supervising and watching. But it's, we're coming together and helping each other. And then, if you get one on your house, then you're going to go and help someone else put it on their house. So it cuts down the cost of labor in that. And then community solar is one thing that we're looking at researching more. We've already have our first pilot when we put the photovoltaic panels on the Brattleboro Food Co-op. So Energia, in my other life outside of Co-op Power, I work for Nuestras Raíces, which is in Holyoke. And Holyoke is a community that is very distinct from southern Vermont or Franklin County. It's, I think it's 51% Latino. Of that Latino majority are Puerto Rican. It's a community that's been hard hit by the flight of the manufacturing industry, and so there's a lot of unemployed people in Holyoke, and the average age of residents in Holyoke are 25, and there's one neighborhood in Holyoke where the average age is 14. So there's a lot of young people who are unemployed, and the school system is a total failure. And so there's a lot of needs. There's a lot of needs in Holyoke. And Nuestras Raíces works on agriculture and has gardens and has a farm and also has a youth program. And as young people have been going through the youth program at Nuestras Raíces, there's been a need to be able to, take that next step. College isn't the path for everybody. So a lot of young people need that time between 18 and 24 to be able to get a job just regularly and just figure out what is going to happen with their life. And so Energia was this collaboration that came together between Nuestras Raíces, Co-op Power, and another CDC, Nueva Esperanza, to be able to launch an energy efficiency commercial business that would then create jobs, support an environmental impact in terms of reducing energy costs, and then generate revenue for the nonprofit organizations to be able to do environmental justice work. It was launched in 2010. It's not easy at all to be able to do this kind of collaboration. It takes a lot of trust and conversations. And we got lucky and it was successful. Last year we had $1.2 million in revenue. We're projecting to have $1.3 million in revenue this coming year. And after 3 years, we're expecting a check of $10,000 from Energia for Nuestras Raíces from our investment. Nuestras Raíces owns 51% of the company. Co-op Power owns 14%. Nueva Esperanza owns 5%. And there's also an aspect that there's a workers' trust. So the workers are actually able to buy in and be worker owners of the company. So yeah, it's a really great story. And the company hired 19 of the young people that Nuestras Raíces trained. So some of the results of community ownership, democratic control through owner, member, and community participation means that you have a community-driven agenda, and it's created leadership is developed, and then you have an increased leadership development, attention to the member and worker and community needs, decision-making focused on meeting needs versus just making profits, increased stewardship of natural resources. This is really difficult to get consensus on. Everyone has different agendas, so we're always battling of that, what's the agenda? So I don't want to gloss it over and just say there's one agenda, there's multiple agendas. So profits, decisions made by community members, profits are distributed to members and or used to build other community resources. Stronger local economy, more community needs met, more stable local economy, increase in community owned assets, increased standard of living. I will say that the jobs that Energia and the energy efficiency crews that they provide are paid a lot better than the jobs that a lot of young people get in the mall, like serving food or working at TJ Maxx. Northeast Biodiesel. So this was a project that was supposed to be the first business launched by Co-op Power. But when a venture capitalist came in and they had the discussion, we were talking to the board and to the members and saying, we can build this and I can put in all the money and then I need my investment back within 2 years and I'm gonna retain control and be able to make all the decisions for a certain time period. And that really didn't sit well with the membership, and they really decided to vote not to go forward with the venture capitalists, even though it would have launched the business at that time period. And that really speaks to the fact that the members really believe in the mission of Co-op Power. Even if folks are putting in money, a lot of what it costs to become a member for the majority of people is around over $900. And then if you're just part of the fuel buying group, it's around $250. But the majority of the people are putting in around $900, not paid all at once. some over a longer period of time. But to be able to say, you know, I'm going to trust my money with this vision of a different kind of economy. So this is what our biodiesel plant looks like currently. It's got some of the tanks and then the processors. And I'm going to show you how the processors work. So this is up in Deerfield. So what is biodiesel? We base our biodiesel on recycled vegetable oil, not virgin oil. The economic model for virgin oil doesn't work, as well as recycled vegetable oil. So when you have just regular vegetable oil, you get that from restaurants and cafeterias. Converted diesel vehicles with special handling can run on just the oil alone. And special recycled oil furnaces and boilers with special handling can run on this oil. But it has to go through a process to remove the glycerin. And then we sell the glycerin as a byproduct. And then you have pure biodiesel, and then any diesel vehicle in warm weather can run on that, or a furnace. And then you go through a process of blending it with petrodiesel or number 2 heating oil, and then it becomes this biodiesel blends. And at that point, you can, especially for where we live, use it in any diesel vehicle or any furnace or boiler. And so the way that we're structuring Northeast Biodiesel is that we do have a section of ownership for investors, you know, folks who want to invest but aren't necessarily members of the cooperative. And we do have a worker owner percentage as well, kind of like how Energia was structured. And then Co-op Power are the majority owners. And after time, the investors will be paid back, and the worker owners will take up their the 17% that they owned. One of the biggest issues right now is we've kind of figured out that in terms of finalizing this company, it's that our members put in the first $400,000, right? They've already put in $400,000 of loans, and then we've also got commitments for a number of people and banks to say, well, we want to be the last money in. Well, it's like everyone wants to be the last money in, and we also have our members saying they're the first money in, but there's this middle amount of funds that we're looking to raise. That's around like $600,000. And we have a really good business plan. We approached one bank that would be interested if this wasn't a startup. So it's kind of like working against us. It's a startup. It's a green industry. It's an industry, you know, biodiesel. Got a lot of flack for a number of years for the food crisis overseas. I mean, this is not based on virgin oil. It's based on recycled oil, but still, biodiesel has kind of a bad reputation. But in terms of where we are regionally, we'd be able to supply enough that we're looking to do quite a substantial volume of biodiesel and be able to make it available in the area. And I think that's it. So thank you.